Good morning, Mavericks. Today is Tuesday, October 29th, 2013. Attention newspaper club members. There will be a newspaper meeting in Miss Shortley's room at 7:45 on Thursday. The deadline for getting stories into Julia Dillman is on October 31st. If you need Miss Shortley's help on a story, see her and she will write you a pass. If you are unable to attend the meeting, you need to see Miss Shortley before Thursday. Attention Ambassadors Club. Could the following ambassadors please see Miss Miller after the pledge? Kiana Kruhilic, Joey Denor, William Rodier, and Emily Snyder. Attention Student Council members. Just a reminder that there is a meeting today after school. Attention Murphy Mavericks. It's time to get your freak on. Join us this Friday night, November 1st from 6 to 8 p.m. for a PTO-sponsored Halloween dance. Tickets are on sale today during lunch periods and are only $3. Don't miss out on all the spooky fun with a live DJ, costume contest, food and drinks, and plenty of scares. See you there if you dare. Attention Mavericks. Thanks to all of you that have band together against drugs and are wearing a bandana, headband, or wristband. Tomorrow, let's show everyone that Murphy, living drug-free is no sweat, wear sweats. Morning homerooms. Keep working on your door decorating contest. Design any door with 3 important facts about drug prevention. Anything goes. Work together. Be creative. Help decorate Murphy and remind everyone that we are a drug-free zone. The winning door will be announced on Thursday, and the winning homeroom will enjoy donuts on Friday morning in homeroom. Now we will have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Make it a great day, Mavericks.
Hey, Jeff, don't break my pencil. I'm supposed to do the eraser game. Hey, no, let's play eraser. Stop it. Hey, you have a drink.
Students in the Principal's Advisory Council should report to the multipurpose room at this time. All students in the Principal's Advisory Council should report to the multipurpose room at this time. Thank you.
I'm sitting at my Guys, I got a piece of art on my desk. Yes. What do you guys do for nothing. I drew a smiley face. Look, what's the name of that? It's a smiley face. Stop touching me, Mike. Well, little pigs. Hey, they're not pigs. It's not like, well, I said stop. Hello, Keith. How are you, Keith? What are you doing today? No, Keith. Yeah. Keith, you have light stuff. We're gonna watch it. 2 hours long. Yeah. Oh my God. Should I play that? You got it out. It was just like there. He was hitting me with his line. It fell. Oh. Of course it fell. I can move it. Pinching me. He's doing stuff at it. You can't hide from me. Yeah, it's better than no. I'm looking at it here. Hey, Ian. Don't do it. Ian, I got a head here. You guys, stop. John stole my stuff. You should too, because you stole from me. Anthony, stop having these at everybody. Andy, stop. No, ow! Ow. Oh, wait. Oh, we can't Hey, I'm out of here. Look at me. Rubber band. Get out of my desk. Out of my desk. The rubber band and trying to figure out how to come.
Oh my goodness.
I'm cute today.
You know,
That's my stuff. I eventually got a man Jesus. That means you're stealing my stuff. I got double hands. Go back. I got 2 more. Catch, keep your catch from. Okay. Go get Miguel's stuff. Catch. Why Chair. Okay, everybody get up. I'm gonna hit you guys in the eraser.
Anthony, can you do me a favor? Tell them that the group's working over in the hall. They have about a minute.
Chris, you have to pick up all the erasers. Yeah. There's like 3 of them. Yeah, we're on the radio. We're in the middle of it. She told me to shut up. Yell at Ollie. What is this?
Yeah.
Push.
I have some there, but you guys only have about 30 seconds left to homeroom.
Get off of me. You lost. I'm gonna go get them. I'm going to attack them. Get in the room. And then go rip the papers out. Yeah. Play like soccer. Play rough. Fouls out after 5. Stop. You guys are tardy. You're tardy. They're tardy. You're so tardy. You guys are tardy.
Okay.
Thank you, Lauren.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies, let's go. Bell rang.
Ready to learn.
Let's go. Guys, let's go. Let's go. Okay. Way to get started. What I want to do today, what I want to do right now is I would like you to please take out your study guide from yesterday. We're going to go over that to begin with, and then we're going to do some other stuff. So, please take out your study guide.
Yes, I think so. Oh, there it is. It's also
Yes. We didn't finish going over the second one. We'll go over it for review. I don't even know if I have a second information. All right, everybody have it out? All right, our first key term was Middle Kingdom. What do we get for Middle Kingdom? Brandon, what do we get?
Period of order and stability.
A period of order and stability? Sure. Anybody with headband, bandanas? If you guys want to come up to the front of the room so we can get a picture today.
Can't wait.
Go, please. Thank you.
That's like a sweat.
Let's go.
Guys, why are you scoot over? Smile.
Guys.
That's the awkward.
Just
Hey,
smile.
hey, why are you so awkward? Like, thank you, Mr. Bitter. I think I'm smiling.
You're welcome.
It's so weird, like everyone separates. It's like so awkward. Everyone's like, and everyone's like, yesterday's gonna be really everyone's probably gonna be wearing.
Okay.
Yes, cute. I'm doing it. What's the one?
Are we ready? Are we done? Okay. Back to our work. Section 3, keyword number 1 was Middle Kingdom. What do we have for Middle Kingdom again, Brandon?
Period of order and stability.
A period of order and stability. Okay. Do we have anything else to add to that? Courtney, what did you add to that?
That lasted about until 1700 BC.
Okay, that's actually a very important part to add to that, is how long it lasted. Because you want to make sure that you differentiate between the Middle Kingdom and the New Kingdom, or the Old Kingdom, and one of the best ways to do that is talk about time. When did they take place? Where do they fall on your timeline? So we have Middle Kingdom, New Kingdom. What is the New Kingdom? New Kingdom. Vera, what's the new? What do you have for New Kingdom?
The period during which Egypt reached the height of glory.
Okay. Anything else to add to that? Do we have any dates or times for that at all?
No.
No, it doesn't say anything at all. There's no dates attached to the new kingdom at all.
No.
All right. Well, I want you to add something, because if you look back here on our map, our gigantic resources is actually connected to our book. We have some dates for you. 1570 to 1070 BC, New Kingdom. You can go ahead and write that on your definition. 1570 to 1070 BC. I know I said you can, but I guess what I meant was you should.
Wait, doesn't that mean it lasted 1070 to 1070?
1570 to 1070 BC.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Alright? Any other questions on that one? Alright, our next key term, trade routes. What are trade routes, Riley?
Paths followed by
Paths followed by
traders.
traders. Does anybody have anything to add to that? No, it seems pretty cut and dry there. Next one, Queen Hatshepsut. I gotta get used to these names. Hatshepsut.
Well, it's actually Hatshepsut.
What do we have, Kendall? What do you have? I'm sorry, one more time, I couldn't hear. Okay, a pharaoh who worked to increase Egyptian trade. Is that the only thing that we can say about this particular pharaoh? Alia? Okay, she dressed like a man and called herself king. That's also very important. Yes, Riley, what else?
The reason why she did that is because like the husband of Pharaoh died and he left the throne to his son, but she took it.
Okay, so there's actually a term for that. When someone else is supposed to take the throne and you take the throne instead, it's called a usurper. She was a usurper. She usurped the throne. She took power over the person who was supposed to have power.
She was the mom.
So she took it away. She was the mom. She took it away. So these are a bunch of different facts about her. They are very important to know. She was a very important person. One of the first female pharaohs. Yeah.
Do people know she was female, or since she dressed like a male, was she like?
They would have known at the time, like before, because she was a queen before she became pharaoh, right? So they would have known. Remember how I was talking about that? I thought that it was Nefertiti, but I couldn't remember which one. That one of the female pharaohs would wear that chin beard, that long chin beard. You remember what I was talking about that? This is who it was. This is who it was. Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut.
Yeah, like
I call her hats.
Hats? Alright, we'll call her hats. I like that. Finally, Ramses the Great. Ramses the Great. Zach, what do we have about Ramses the Great?
Reign was the longest in Egyptian history and fought Asia Minor and Hades.
Okay, the Hittites. Okay, his reign was the longest in Egyptian history. And he fought Asia Minor against Asia Minor and the Hittites. What else can we say about him? Yeah, what else can we say about
He
him?
came to power in 12,000 BC.
He came to power in 12,000 BC. That's an important point. Riley, what else?
He had a really strong military.
Very strong military. John, what else can we say? He brought peace between the Egyptians and the Hittites. That's a huge deal. What else can we say, Kendall?
He defeated the Timurid.
The who? Okay. All right. So with all these different victories and war victories, we can see one of the reasons why they called him Ramses the Great, right? He kept the people safe. He won a number of different battles, a lot of different things as to go into why they called him Ramses the Great. Does anybody remember some of the other things that Ramses the Great did? That we talked about earlier? Huh?
Was it about like his statues, or was it about the walls that he built?
All those, he built lots of things. He built lots of temples, palaces, walls, put statues of himself everywhere. In fact, most of the time, when you think of ancient Egypt, if you were to think of a statue from ancient Egypt, you're probably picturing Ramses. Because he put so many statues of himself all over the place, That's a very common image. It's what you immediately think of when you think of an Egyptian pharaoh. When I say Egyptian pharaoh, the image that might come into your mind would more likely be Ramses. Either that or King Tut.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have seen the image of King Tut. But Ramses is everywhere. Okay, let's see here. So let's move on to our questions. How did Amosa manage to become king of all Egypt? How did Amosa manage to become king of all Egypt? Courtney, how did he do it?
He drove all the haikus, fixers out of Egypt, and then he did after they were all gone, he was all king.
Okay. So he drove them all out, and then he proclaimed himself king. Anything else about that? Zach, what did you have something else to add?
Remember the meeting? He was the thief, part of the leader of the thieves.
Okay. Alright, so he drove all the Hyksos out of Egypt, declared himself king. Be kind of like you guys just walked in here one day and you're like, let's drive out all the teachers and proclaim ourselves rulers of Murphy Junior High.
You know we could actually do that.
You probably could. You outnumber us.
Let's do it.
Yeah, but we got Mr. Brown.
Yeah, but I have me.
Yeah, but they got me.
They're scared of me. Miss Brown, or not Mr. Brown and Miss Curl are scared of me. When I ever come by them, they run
You
away.
know
And
that
so
one
whispering
kid,
about
that
me.
one really told me.
Alright, moving on.
Tiger's scared.
Alright, question number 2. Which group of invaders did Ramses the Great defeat? We kind of mentioned this already. Who did he defeat?
No, this is a different
Brandon. He did defeat the Hittites, but not quite the group we're looking for. Anasha. The Tehenu? Yes, correct. That is the one we were looking for. It's spelled Tehenu. 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 Hittites? Oh, the Hyksos. All right. Next question. What did Queen Hats do as Pharaoh of Egypt? What did she do? What did she do as Pharaoh? Dad. Okay, she used the wealth to support architecture. What else did she do?
She worked so she can increase Egyptian trade.
She worked to increase Egyptian trade. Brandon?
She sent traders south to trade with
Okay. Caleb? Okay, she built a temple for herself. Sounds like she did a lot, right? It sounds like she did a lot of good things. She built a temple for herself. She increased trade routes. What else did she do?
Is that a good thing?
All
to
kinds of
build a temple for yourself?
Build a temple for herself, but nobody else is going to do it.
Is that what she did? Oh, she built it herself?
Well, I mean, she didn't go out and build it herself, but she had people do it.
Yeah, she had like slaves do it.
But that's how we. But think about it. If she wouldn't have gone out and built a temple for herself, if she wouldn't have said, "Hey, you guys need to go out and build a temple for me," it's entirely possible that her son, or was it her stepson or her son?
Probably so.
The one that she usurped the throne from, she stole the throne from him. When he finally did come to power, he may not have liked the fact that she stole the throne for a little while, and maybe he wouldn't build a temple for her. And if they wouldn't have built a temple for her, we probably wouldn't have any information about her, and we probably wouldn't remember who she was. But she built a temple for herself, and now, how many thousands of years later, I'm talking about her in a classroom. Her name is remembered. She is remembered. In a way, she still kind of lives on, because we still talk about her. So she did some wonderful, but she did some great things, and so I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have had a problem building a temple for her since she did such great things. All right, next question. What do you think is a more reliable source of wealth? Trade or payments from conquered kingdoms? Trade or or payment from conquered kingdoms? Tyler, what do you think?
I would say, maybe payment and other kingdoms, because then you can actually, like, force more money out of them.
Okay.
And people would be threatened, so they'd be scared, so they'd do things.
Okay.
Like,
All right, Brendan, what do you think? Okay. Okay. Good point. Great, what do you think?
I said payments from conquered kingdoms, because no matter the case, they have to give you money or some sort of payment. But with trade, they could easily decide that they don't want to continue.
Trading with you anymore? Okay. Riley, what do you think?
I would say conquered kingdoms because like some other people have already made this like threats and there's like more people and for like trade you don't have to trade with like money, you can just trade like objects.
Okay. Courtney, what do you think?
Since this has the most reliable source, I think it's trade because it's not, because if you go and conquer, well, there's no guarantee that you would conquer the kingdom, and if you didn't, then you would lose, and you would have another enemy. So if you just stay with trade, then it's more reliable.
Okay. It's kind of, I'm not sure which one is actually more reliable. There are good sides and bad sides to each, as we kind of talked a little bit about all the good sides. What are some of the bad sides of one of the two? What is something that would deter you from, say, trying to get money through trade or trying to get money from conquering other kingdoms? What are some of the negative sides? John, what do you think?
When you conquer another kingdom, they could probably rebel against you.
Okay, they could rebel against you, so maybe, and they might win, and then you wouldn't have that source of income for very long. And are they going to trade with you after that?
No.
No. So that's a good point. Jack?
If you keep conquering kingdoms, you get more supplies because they'll eventually run out of that kingdom. They'll just keep using like the troops and kingdoms for the day.
Okay. Okay, so as you have to start conquering more kingdoms to start getting more wealth and more wealth, eventually you're going to spread yourself really thin. You're going to lose a lot of soldiers, a lot of supplies. Okay? Hannah?
You're trading with another firm, and you have like you're trading for a resource that's not going to go out. It's very around supply, and they have a lot of it. The way it gets worth a lot, just have quite of it, and then you get.
Okay, so they might, because they have a lot of something, they might, and you don't have any of it, they might charge you a ton for something when it's not really all that valuable to them, and they are making a killing. How would
For like trade, maybe like a negative could be, like if they, don't want to trade with you, then they take your things, so you're losing what you have.
Okay, so they don't want to trade from you or trade with you, and eventually they steal from you. I think I'm not really sure which one is good or bad. I think we've noticed some very valid points for both of them. If you go out and start conquering everybody and make them pay you tribute, what happens, which is what they call it when they pay you money, or they pay you in goods, like let's say, has everybody ever seen A Bug's Life?
Yeah.
All right, what happens in A Bug's Life? What happens in A Bug's Life? There's like, John, what happens in A Bug's Life?
Okay, so basically, grasshoppers try to get the food from the ants, and basically, they ran out because that one guy,
Okay, so the grasshoppers come in. You gotta imagine the grasshoppers are like the invading army. They're like the Egyptians, right? They're the invading army. They're the super strong military power. They come over and they take over these other groups, let's say the ants, and they demand from them payment. You owe us money. You owe us X amount of food. And they don't say necessarily say you have to give us money, but they definitely say, we're hungry, you need to feed us. You must give us this much grain, right? And so the ants have to pay that. And they have to. Now the problem is the grasshoppers, because they don't have to work for their food anymore, they start to get a little bit greedy, right? And they want more and more and more. So they start demanding outrageous amounts of grain from the ants. And then the ants have a problem, they start to rebel, and then they say, you know what, we're going to punish you, so we're going to demand even more grain. And they have all these strict demands on them. Well, yeah, and then let's say a drought comes, or some sort of natural disaster comes. Now, the grasshoppers don't grow any of their own food, so it doesn't directly affect them, but they get all of their food from the ants. This drought comes, and the ants can't grow any food. If they can't grow any food, can they give any to the grasshoppers? No. Are the grasshoppers going to be happy about not getting any food? No. And in many ways, what would happen is that they would then demand even more payment, even though they don't have anything. And the people who are providing the food for them would suffer, and there's a whole bunch of chain reaction of things that go down the line. But if they had just open trade and they were trading with them, so the grasshoppers brought the ants something and the ants gave them grain in return, you still might have the same problem. If a drought comes and the ants don't have any grain to give, no matter how much money the grasshoppers try and throw at them to give them grain, they can only give them what they have. So there are other factors that could make either one more difficult. I think trade's a little less violent and bloody, but not always. Yes, sir.
Oh, I know. I played this game called Settlers of Catan, and I played against two of my sisters and my mom, and I ended up winning because I was near money, so I always got the most iron, and everyone needed iron. So I ended up trading with all three of them, and I got all the resources that I needed.
Does anybody play any, like I have one of, what's it called, Kingdoms, I think? I play it on my tablet. It's one of those games and you have to have certain resources in order to build things and do things.
Isn't that Minecraft?
It's, I guess, I don't know, I've never played Minecraft, so I don't know. But it's, you have to have certain resources to do things. And sometimes you run low on resources and you can't do anything, so you have to trade with other people in order to get them. And Settlers of Catan is like that. It's actually a great game to learn how this idea of trading goes. And so you have to have certain things. And if you have one thing that everybody needs, you can easily take over. All right, let's get back to our to this so we can get to what our work today. Let's see. Next question. What was our next question? What job employed the most people in ancient Egypt? What job employed the most people in ancient Egypt? Yeah. Okay, farmers and other peasants. Why would that be? Why would farmers and other peasants give them the number one job? Elijah?
Well, because it's probably hard to like become a slave because they have to like go like up the ladder. I guess like go from like a slave to a farmer to like something else and then like a slave.
Okay.
So I think it's kind of hard to find something that
Okay. Yeah, go. I know.
Yeah, you really did it to me, don't
Yeah.
Well, to have like most of the other jobs, you have to be wealthy and you have to have lots of money, but these are pretty much put together.
Right. That's a big thing. It's not like their society wasn't like our society, where you could potentially go from having nothing to doing really well in school, get yourself a scholarship, go to college, do really well in college, get a great job, make the most out of your life, become some super important person. Right? People do that. People have done that a lot. Bill Gates dropped out of college to start Microsoft and is now one of the wealthiest people in the world.
Isn't he dead?
Bill Gates is not dead. Good job.
I always get him.
But you see all these different people who have done things like this, and they can go from almost nothing to doing anything that they want to do. But that's not the way it was in Egyptian society. You had to be born into a family that already had wealth and power in order to do a job where you would have wealth and power. You couldn't just start out as a farmer or a peasant and hope to one day be a scribe or a vizier. Vizier. You'll find out in a little bit. You couldn't just start out at the low spot and work your way up. So, a lot of people started out in the low spot. And that's where the most people were, is on the lower level, on the farmers and the other peasants. And the other reason why they would be there is because it takes a lot of food to feed all the people. And even though you have great systems of irrigation, it still takes a lot of people to do that, to feed all those people, and to build all those temples, and to run all those things, and hunt all of the animals to have food. So you still have to do all those things. So it requires a lot of work and a lot of people to do it. So that's why we would see the most of them there. Yes?
Well, I'm doing like a museum project.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a temple for one of them, and I saw that like the temples take around 50 years to do.
Yeah, so it takes a long time to do that. All right, next question on the back side. What rights did Egyptian women have? What rights did Egyptian women have? Charlie, just one? Yeah, just give me one. They could own property. Excellent. They could own property. Lindsay. They could divorce their husbands. Right? This is actually a big deal. This is actually a big deal because for a long time, women were basically considered a piece of property that the husband owned. And so the husband could go out and do whatever he wanted, and the wife really couldn't say anything about it. But now in Egyptian society, the wife could say, you know what, no, I'm done with you, I'm gone. And she could divorce him. In previous societies, the husband could divorce the wife, and she couldn't say or do anything about it. And because of women also couldn't own property, which is a huge thing because if you were a woman, a lot of times they paid like a dowry, which means that your family pays a whole bunch of money and goods and property and other things to whoever's marrying you. And that becomes the property of your husband. Now, if he decides to divorce you, do you have any idea how much of that stuff that you get back? Zero.
Dude, that's
You got
good, 'cause,
nothing.
if I did
Which
this,
means that you were basically left, you couldn't hold a job, you couldn't own property, and you couldn't stop the divorce. So basically you were left homeless. And he got all of your stuff. So the Egyptians sort of started to change this, right? So women could own property, they could hold their own things, which means that you didn't have to get married to a guy. You could own your own stuff. You could also get a divorce if you wanted to. If you didn't like your husband or the arranged marriage your parents picked out for you, you could divorce him. What are some of the other rights that they had? Kendall, what's something else? They could make contracts. Do you know how big that is? How many of you know for a fact that your mom has at least a credit card? Okay, just about everybody in here, right? A credit card is essentially a contract. It's a contract. It is a contract saying that you agree that a certain company will essentially loan you a certain amount of money and that you will at some point in time pay them back. It's a contract. Before the Egyptian society came along and said women could write contracts, none of your mothers or none of the females in this room could ever have a credit card that wasn't, you just couldn't have a credit card.
You should
Ever.
really not have a credit card
Ever.
because then you're gonna get back credit. That's like
Nobody
the
could.
main problem.
You couldn't buy a car, you couldn't buy a house, you couldn't do anything. Any of those things you have to sign contracts for. You also, all the female teachers here that are working here, we all signed contracts saying that we agreed to work for the 1 year of our contract. There wouldn't be any female teachers in the building because they couldn't sign contracts. It'd just be me, Mr. Watkins, and Mr. Ziniger walking around.
And
Oh, Mr. Girl.
And
Mr. Kiefer.
Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown.
Oh, Mr. Brown.
You're forgetting
Mr.
it.
Watkins. I didn't want him. No, Mr. Kohler wouldn't hang out here with there were no women. So there's lots of different things. What's one other thing? What's one other thing?
He has a
Did they have another
girlfriend.
right? That was it? Okay.
Mr. Cooley has a girlfriend.
No, Mr. Coley's
What? Stop. Oh my goodness. Stop. Brandon, what else did you have? They could have jobs outside of their home. That was a big one. They can have jobs outside of their home. Let's see here. Last question. Why do you think scribes were so honored in Egyptian society? Why were scribes so honored in Egyptian society? Kendall?
Because they were in a high part of the social hierarchy, which was next to the government.
Okay, and why were they so high up in that governmental society, that government? Ian, what do you think?
They were some of the only people who know written language.
Correct. They were some of the only people who knew written language. In fact, there were a number of different pharaohs and rulers throughout the years who didn't know how to write. They didn't know. And there were also some generals, military leaders who didn't know how to write. And this became problematic because it meant that the scribes could potentially write down anything that they wanted, and it didn't necessarily mean that whoever was in charge was going to be able to read it and tell them that hey, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. So, yes, Vera.
Did you know that Shakespeare didn't know proper grammar, so once people discovered his writings, they had to go back and put in all of the proper grammar.
I have not ever heard that before, but it doesn't actually surprise me.
We're out.
All right. I have a couple of things to pass out to you. I have a packet for you guys to start working on. And while you're working on that, I'm going to also pass out, I'm also going to put on that video that I told you that we were going to try and watch yesterday and we just wouldn't play. That's okay. Next week, on a side note though, I think I'm supposed to hand these out during homeroom. I think so, it should be. I fixed it yesterday. It worked in every class after this. Okay. Alright. At least this time I know how to fix it, because I fixed it yesterday. Zach, come here.
Okay.
What's up? Pass those out. Zach, pass those out. No, go to the other side. Go to the other side. It's the same thing.
I thought they were different things, so
It's okay.
Wait, this homework?
If you don't finish it in time, yes.
What do you call it?
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's a pile on the desk. Or on the table. Yes.
I beat her. I did this. So I think she did this.
Long before the first pharaohs signaled the start of their civilization by building wondrous monuments along these black shores, the Nile flowed freely here. It was the source of life for small bands of wanderers who lived along these special banks. Fish and fowl were abundant, and there were crocodiles and hippopotamuses to hunt.
Okay.
Each
What is the
spring, the
directions? It
river
says
would flood,
read sentence
depositing
and choose
layer
the
of
correct
rich,
term
dark
or
mud
make
from which
choice
wild
to
barley
break.
grew.
Write the term in the space provided.
These prehistoric people of the Nile harvested
This
their
is from
bounty
section 3.
with stone
I would
blades
double
and
check.
arrowheads.
Back in your book with the Mentuhotep.
Life here was so dependent
the
on the
new
river
kingdom.
that the Greek
So-
historian Herodotus would later call Egypt the gift of the Nile and the temple of the world.
So you need to
Scratch upon a
whatever's
rock
supposed
on
to
these
be
cliffs or
here,
deserts of the
you
Nile
point
Valley,
it.
and the
But
mark is
double
left
check your
forever.
So maybe, but yeah, I would double check your book.
Into this land, 3,000 years before Christ, were the central figures of ancient Egyptian civilization.
No, so you have time to work
The
your book in
pharaohs.
class. And I only have so many. I don't have enough copies for
From the
everyone to
beginning,
take a book.
the land along the Nile was divided naturally into two regions. The narrow river valley that extended northward from the African continent was called Upper Egypt. The lush delta region where the branches of the Nile empty into the Mediterranean Sea was called Lower Egypt. Joined together, this would
Yes.
become the Egypt of history. In this narrow valley, the monuments were built,
It's
the
because of the
inscriptions
duration of the
written,
Nile flood.
and a
We talked about that
mysterious
last time.
religion and philosophy developed. This valley of the Nile, protected by the deserts which close it in, is the land of the pharaohs. The word pharaoh means simply great house, and it was the mission of the pharaohs to establish their spiritual and political supremacy over all that lived in the land. The foremost symbol of this kingship was the crown. One of the two most important was the white crown, a tall, slender headdress with a rounded top. It signified its wearer as the ruler of Upper Egypt. The red crown signified the ruler of Lower Egypt. When the two were combined and worn at once, the crown signified the pharaoh of all Egypt. The pharaoh also carried ceremonial tools called the crook and the flail. It is believed that the crook was shaped after a shepherd's staff and characterized the pharaoh as a shepherd of his people. The flail was symbolic of both a weapon and a tool for threshing wheat. When crossed across the pharaoh's chest, they signified his power to lead, protect, and provide for his people. Nearly every aspect of ancient Egyptian life was believed to be controlled by gods. Often God was represented by an animal, a reflection of the awe with which these Nile dwellers regarded the creatures that shared their fertile homeland. The ruling pharaoh was believed to be the embodiment of the hawk-headed god, Horus, ruler of the sky and lord of heaven. Above all, the ancient Egyptians believed their life on earth and the order of the universe was controlled by a force they called Ma'at.
Pharaoh's job description might be described as maintaining Ma'at. Everything must function according to Ma'at, or the universe, the ordered universe, might collapse into chaos.
Egyptian civilization began when Upper and Lower Egypt were brought together under one warrior king in the year 3150 BC. He is believed to have conquered his enemy in the fertile field of Papyrus to become the first pharaoh of Egypt. The physical evidence for this comes from Upper Egypt in the city of Heracleopolis, along the west bank of the Nile. Excavations have revealed a monumental piece of dark green slate. The Narmer Pyramid. It is the earliest historical record of Egypt 7 years before Christ.
No, the last one, very last.
This is a replica of the Narmer Palette,
Second to last page.
third scale, so the original would have been much larger than this. The classical interpretation of the Narmer Palette has been that this pharaoh, Narmer,
Okay,
was the
there's
king
one
who
at
unified the
bottom
country and this document really played a major role in that interpretation.
Hieroglyphs of the pharaoh's name depict a catfish above a chisel and form the word Named, a name that translates literally as angry catfish.
Yes, you do have to do
This may sound to us rather amusing. However, the Nile has several species of electrically charged catfish that are capable of inflicting a very painful electrical jolt. So that I think the name really has some resonance.
According to legend, Narmer burned the enemy village and killed each of its soldiers. The reverse side of the Narmer palette depicts such a scene after the pharaoh's battle.
In front of the king and the followers of Horus is the remains of a battlefield with rows of beheaded individuals with their heads between their legs.
Narmer began a bloodline that marked the rise of the first dynasty of pharaohs, over 5,000 years ago. 29 such dynasties, or distinct family lines of rulers, would follow. The changes due to either lack of an heir or by the wars and political infighting lay in the future of the pharaohs, a period that would span some 3 millennia. In order to secure his conquest, the pharaoh Narmer probably married a princess of northern origin. He then moved north along the Nile and founded his resident city at a site known as White Walls. Here, in 3050 BC, he was succeeded to the throne by his son, whose name, found on a simple shard of pottery, meant fighting hawk. He was the pharaoh Hor-Aha. Hor-Aha's greatest achievement was the founding of the city of Memphis on the site of what had been his father's residence, White Walls. This city would grow into the political and religious capital of ancient Egypt. Made of mud and wood, it has all but vanished. But the Greek historian Manetho leaves an impression of this city of white walls.
Memphis was by far the largest city I had ever seen. A colossal wall of pearly limestone encloses the city proper. Within the wall, many temples rise from the enormous spread of brown brick houses, and around them tower an army.
Okay. Oh, that is where I said actually. Oh, my Johnson. My Johnson.
What over?
It fell on the stairs.
You're done.
What is that? What? Oh, did you see your shirt I sent the picture to your mom? Of the shirt? It was too small. It was the funniest thing. So it goes up to here. Oh. It was funny as can be. No way. Your mom told me it's small, so I grabbed the small. Yeah. I like the shirt.
Oh, I ever read one of that, except there's no captain. Who was captain there?
I know, right?